Hello, girls, guys, or otherwise. This is Rich with your first witchy book club series of the year. We are starting a new year. We are starting a new book. So, a couple things before we get into today's this first book of the year, which is Modern Magic, 12 Lessons in the High Magical Arts by Donald Michael Craig. I wanted to cover this book a little bit. Just before we get any further, let me go ahead and mention this is brought to you by our patrons on Patreon, partially. Um, if you want to be a founder for the church that we are starting up, you can become a founder through Patreon, and you can get some perks like this video early and, some exclusive capabilities to get in contact with me via Discord. So you can go ahead and go down there. You can give, I think it's as little as $5 a month is what it's set up for. So $5 per month, flat rate, that's it. That's all you have to pay. And you can hit me up on Discord all hours of the day. And I always have my phone on me, so yeah, you can always get a hold of me. So I wanted to mention that. Thank you to our patrons. Let me go ahead and bring up the Patreon list because I am blanking on one of the names. Linda, thank you. And Sophia, thank you. Sophia is a longtime Patreon patron, and Linda just came on board in January. Thank you to both of those patrons. It is much appreciated. It does go towards starting up this church and the website and whatnot, the Christo-Paganism.com. So getting all of the stuff done with that, so it is nice and a secure place where we can congregate as a group, as a community. So anyway, I'm going to take this down for a second. So what I want to discuss first before we get anywhere into this book is when it was printed, or this edition was printed. This edition in and of itself was printed in 2010. So we are a little bit removed from the time that it was actually published in its revised and expanded edition. So the older version of the Modern Magic was 11 lessons of the high magical arts. So yeah, it's a little bit different if you have an older version. I think we can still dredge through it and we can get through it together. It'll be fine. You'll be okay. If you have an older version, you're fine. I think you'd be fine. But I wanted to talk a little bit about my connection with this book in particular. But before that, Donald Michael Craig, I did mention in a previous video, I didn't know if Donald Michael Craig, if I can remember where my little icons are, Donald Michael Craig did pass away in 2014. So this edition was published shortly before his death, a couple years before his death of pancreatic cancer. Oddly enough, whenever looking up when he died, so that I had a what you call it, an accurate, factual time frame on when he died, was March 17th of 2014. Now, you may not know this, but I have a friend, Chrissy, who passed away on March 17th, 2014, same day. So yeah, it is quite odd, the similarities that Donald Michael Craig, his I think I can probably safely say seminal work. He has several different books out there, or under his name. There have been published several different books. So I think this would be his seminal work, his biggest work. I think this is the one that you see in most bookstores that cater to the magical arts, especially ceremonial magic and whatnot. So My first encounter with this book goes back to my freshman year of high school. So, I have some coffee because this is going to be a late night. I am going to be filming this video. I'm going to be filming the Tarot Talk Tuesday. I'm going to be filming the Table Talk Thursday. And then I'm going to be doing some eBay listings that are going to go live hopefully tonight, maybe tomorrow. So coffee is a must. I actually have, let me go ahead and turn y'all here just a little bit. I have my teapot full of coffee, and it keeps it nice and hot. So yeah, if you see this cup going full and empty and full and empty, yeah, that's because I probably cut out the times whenever I'm, putting sugar in my coffee and, pouring it and all that stuff. So if you see the magical cup fill up, that's why. Anyway, my first encounter with this book was my freshman year of high school. Keep in mind, I was very, shall we say, evangelical in my religious stance, and I had somebody that I sat with at lunch that had this book. I was one of those people that said, "Oh, rock music is satanic, and I can prove it." And then he pulls out this book and he's like, I'm learning this stuff, this and that. And I said, well, it's satanic. You should not be doing that. Now, I didn't sit there and, berate him or anything like that. I didn't like beat him up or anything. That's never been my style. But I did borrow it from him for the night so I could read through it and see what I thought of this book. And I, as a slow reader, did not get very far into it, but I did get to the relaxation ritual. And I have been using this relaxation ritual in this book for years, probably for at least the last, 10, 15 years at least. Let's see, I was probably, let's say about 15. So yeah, probably about 20 years now. Because this is just the updated version in 2010. The older version, I think, was 1988, I think was the year of publication. But yeah, I've been using this type of relaxation ritual for that many years. On and off, not always, but just to relax myself, get myself ready for bed, that type of thing. It is a huge help, and I will talk more on that whenever we get to that point. Um, Probably not, but let's see what happens. But my roots to this book go back fairly far. And whenever I saw this book, not only did I have the 11 lessons, but then I saw this book, the 12 lessons that was that was produced right around whenever I came into studying the craft and whatnot. So it was not long after I started studying it that I saw that this book came out, and I went and I got that, which is why the 11 lesson book has barely even been cracked. I don't think I ever actually even opened it. I'm still looking at it right here because I need to pack it, and that's another thing that I'm doing tonight is packing that and getting it off to Gabby. Yeah. So, Gabby, I'm sorry if you're watching this and you're a little behind on the lesson. I do apologize. Um, don't flog me unless it's nicely. Um, but anyway, yeah, my connection to this book goes back quite a ways, and I just figured I'd share that with you. This is going to be a long video, longer than whenever we did the Temple series, because these chapters are large. If I have to, I may do these in two different videos, or I may pause, the recording and go and get some sleep and then come back and start recording again. So you might see me change, outfits or something like that. So just pre-warning that might be something that happens. So anyway, let's get on into this In our grandest of traditions, whenever we are going through the Witchy Book Club series, we read the first sentence of the chapter to see how it is presented. And then we judge it on that, and we talk about little things here and there. If this is your first time joining us for a Witchy Book Club series, just to let you know, I have in my copy underlined and written in the margins, and it's something that as a book purist I had to get past because it's something I really needed to do in order to uh, do this and do it in a cohesive way. Otherwise, what I did whenever I did the first chapter of the Inner Temple Witchcraft is I wrote down the line by hand, and then I wrote my whole commentary by hand, and it just doesn't work. It's long, it's tedious, and no, that's not happening. So now I basically underline it. If I have any notes, put the notes in the margin. If I just want to riff on it, I'll do that. So sit back, get yourself some coffee, tea, whatever your beverage may be. What was my son of a gun? I haven't done. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your beverage, whatever it may be. I haven't done videos in a while, so I'm getting a little rusty on my little my little phrases and whatnot. And then you're going to see here in a minute, you're going to see the coffee fill up like this. See, just like magic. Okay, so we're going to get into lesson 1, part 1, getting started. Okay, I want to start by telling you that all of the fairy tales and stories about the powers of wizards, witches, and magicians that you've heard or read all your life are true. I have a note here. This has me pumped. What a great attention-grabbing opening. Absolutely. It is one of those, come with me if you would like to know more. And it kind of draws you in. I love the way that he opens the first sentence of the first part of the first chapter. And just so you all know, I am going to say page number, and I do jump around, so not everything is cohesive, and I will let you know when I do jump around. If this is your first time here, a little warning. If this is not your first time, y'all know how it goes. Okay, so no one can give you magical powers. You have to earn them. There is only one way to do this. Practice, practice, practice. And I have here, I think this is my new favorite answer to are witches born or made? There is one of those continuing debates. Are witches born or are they made? It's kind of like do you have to be initiated or can you initiate yourself, the self-initiated? I'm all about do what you want. And I think that witches can certainly have a lineage, but I think that witches can also be made, and that comes from practicing and doing your practice and being involved in your practice. It's not something that you just do once and you're like, oh, I'm a witch and I'm always going to be a witch. Not necessarily. If you are somebody who once did a spell one time, years ago, decades ago, and you're not really practicing, I don't know if I would consider you a witch. You may have had a witchy phase, but I mean, labels are for soup cans. Call yourself whatever you want. I don't care. But by my definition, I wouldn't necessarily consider that a person being a witch. Okay, moving on. Under the title of Dream Diary, start right now. Today, you should start keeping a diary of your dreams. And I have I've never been good at keeping a dream journal or a dream diary. Never. It is one of those things. It is so hard for me to do whenever I get up in the morning to sit there and write down my dreams, if I even remember them. It is something that is difficult for me. It's something that I've never been able to do, and I should probably get out of that habit of just getting up and going and doing, things that need to be done. But stepping back for a second and taking that minute to write down those little things here and there that I remember about a dream. So, moving on page 8, simply get a pad of paper and leave it with a pencil or pen by your bed at night. And I have here, I may need to make room on my bedside table, because my bedside table has all kinds of stuff on it. I have a lamp that holds stuff in it. And that thing is full. And I have tarot decks, and I have books, and I have my phone charger. I have a phone charger that it is wooden, and it holds my phone like that, and it wirelessly charges. I love it. I got it at Target for like, I think it was like 10-15 bucks or something like that. One of the best investments ever. But I have that, and I put my glasses in there. I have my alarm clock, and I have, coffee, tea, a beverage of some sort, next to my alarm clock, which oddly enough I haven't like really spilled them. Really, I think I might have spilled one time, but it's not been something that happens a lot. But yeah, in the middle of the night, if I'm thirsty, I just reach over and grab it and drink it, and then we're fine. And yeah, I'm going to need some room on my bedside table if this is going to be a thing. Right now, I have zero room for that. So yeah, I'm going to have to do that. Priorities, Rich. Okay, moving on. Uh, it is also unlikely that you will be able to interpret their... Okay, hold on. Okay. Moving on. It is also unlikely that you will be able to interpret their individual meanings. Instead, look for repeated images or changes you find between reoccurring dreams or dreams with reoccurring themes. Please, please, please stay away from all those ridiculous meanings of your dreams books. And I think I might have one of those. Do I have one of those right behind me? I know I have them. There's one. Yeah. Um yeah, I did not pay $7.98 at Barnes and Noble. This one I think I got at I think I got this at Goodwill, to be honest. But yes, I don't usually go to the Dream Journal or Dream Books and whatnot. I'm still looking for other ones because I know I have multiple ones. But I would suggest the same thing. Don't go to the Dream Books or to the websites or anything like that. Try to, interpret those if you are one that wants to interpret dreams. Try to interpret them and what the meanings are to you. The meaning of a dog in one person's dream whenever they love dogs is going to be drastically different from the meaning of a dog in somebody else's dream where they cannot stand dogs or are afraid of dogs because they've had a vicious dog attack. I don't like snakes. They are nope ropes to me, and I don't stand for it. Little gardener snakes in my yard. I've had one before. I've had a couple before, and I will grab a shovel and I will throw it over the fence and everything to get it out of my yard, and the entire time screaming like a little child because I don't like snakes. But somebody like my friend Kelly, who doesn't really have a problem with snakes, would be totally fine with having a snake in a dream. She is afraid of birds. Oddly enough, her favorite animal is an owl, but I digress. Um, she is fearful of birds, but I have no problem with birds. So a meaning of a bird in my dream is going to be drastically different from a meaning of a bird in her dream. So I mean that's the type of thing I want to put out there. Now he also does give us, and I'm just going to pop that up there. He does give us a ritual diary entry. We're going into about rituals and whatnot. He doesn't give us one on dream journals, like things to put in there or whatnot. He does give tips for remembering dreams. Um, First of all, say to yourself before you fall asleep, "I will remember important dreams when I awake." If you awake during the night, and recall a dream rather than go back to sleep, take a tissue or a piece of paper, ball it up, and throw it in the middle of the floor. Um, if you have little puppies like mine, I would suggest not doing this because they will grab that and rip it all to shreds. Um, but he says it will trigger and remind you of your dream. When you get up in the morning, record your dreams right away, jot them down, even if you are desperate to go to the bathroom. Write something, anything down on your pad of paper first. Transfer this and expand it on it as you remember more of your dreams to your dream diary. Record something in your dream diary daily. Make this a habit by doing it daily for a minimum of 3 weeks. Okay, so yeah, I I need to start doing this. I am terrible at journaling my dreams, especially. I am bad at journaling in general. I I'm okay with journaling. I'm bad at finding the time to journal and whatnot. Um, yeah, I used to take my journal to work with me and journal at work. Have not been doing that. Haven't done it for quite a while. Um, so yeah, I need to start doing that again. He does have here, like I said, the ritual diary entries. So whenever you are doing ritual, you mark down the date, day, time, phase of the moon, weather conditions, emotions, physical condition, name of rituals performed, the performance, and the results, and how you felt during the entire thing. Expand on this, and keep a record of your rituals. I haven't done this. Um, in the past, and that's also something that I should do because there are sometimes whenever a ritual just kind of feels flat. And sometimes it's like I don't know if it's the mood, the atmosphere. I don't know if it's um the moon, the moon phase, the atmosphere outside, the atmosphere in the house, the atmosphere with me, my emotions can be playing a part in it. I don't know if it's the ritual itself. It could be the day of the week. It could be multiple things. It could be outside influences, just being tired from work or whatnot. So it can be several different things. Um, and it's important to keep a running tally of those types of things, those good events, those bad events, um, or not necessarily bad events, but the ones that kind of fall flat, and the ones that are full of energy, like a good Samhain ritual that I had years and years ago. And yeah, keeping a record of those because it is important to keep in mind the things that work for you and the things that don't work for you. Again, people are different. The circumstances that they do things in can be different. So let's go ahead and move on. I'm on page 13 with the relaxation ritual. Like I said, I still do this. I use this system all the time. Um, on and off for probably the last about roughly 20 years. Um, and you have this little ball of light. It goes up, up your body. Everything relaxes, all that stuff. It is a fantastic ritual. Um, I don't necessarily see it as a ritual that I perform before doing any actual workings. I do this as part of a meditative practice to kind of rest, get myself into that restful relaxation before falling asleep. And it is fantastic. Um, I will say this, that whenever I've meditated while going to sleep, or in order to fall asleep, those have been some of the best, most relaxing sleeps that I've ever had. So, and this ritual is one of the ones that I've used that is fantastic for that. So do read up on that, and use it and tell me what you think. If you've done this in the past, let me know how it's worked for you. If you are excited to try this, let me know. Comments below, all that good stuff. And then we are on page 14. What is magic? And yeah, I have a lot of different things here. Um, a lot of. Mm, I don't. Yeah, I have a lot of things to discuss in this little section here. So, later on in the section, though. Anyway, page 14, what is magic? He says, the assumption was made, however, that you have a basic idea of exactly what magic is, but your definition may not be the same as mine. So let us now try to come to a workable definition of magic. And I really appreciate whenever individuals, especially whenever you're in a teacher-student type of situation, um, if you're talking about something that is commonly known, like magic in the witchy community, um, we all basically more or less have a common understanding of what somebody means when they say magic. But that's not always the case. Sometimes there is the thought, whenever somebody comes into the witchy community, they're thinking magic is with a wand and then poof, something happens. That's not necessarily the case, not with what we are talking about. That's definitely not the case. So we have to come to a common definition that we can all get on board, and we can all say this is what we mean when we say this word, at least in this group. So I like that even in 2010, whenever this was revised and whatnot, and probably in the earlier version, um, before the 1980 something odd version, whenever that was put out, if he did that then too, I I really appreciate that that was a thing. So yeah, I think that is an important thing to do whenever you're in a student teacher type of dynamic, and there may be terms that are misconstrued or misunderstood. So, and I try to do that as well. And, if I'm saying something different than what y'all, know as XYZ, call me out. Say, hey, is this what you mean by this? Or is it something different? What's your definition for this? So, sometimes we are saying the same thing, but we have different ways of explaining it or different terminology for it. So let's move on. Page 15. He has here, magic is the science and art of causing change in consciousness to occur in conformity with will, using means not currently understood by traditional Western science. So that is the definition that we are going with for this book. And I'll read that again. Magic is the science and art of causing change in consciousness to occur in conformity with will, using means not currently understood by traditional Western science. Okay. And now we're on page 16, and I wanted to highlight that phrase, because that is, or that terminology, because that's something we're going to have to come back to in order to have a jumping off point whenever we're discussing what magic is. Um, Page 16, I divide magic into 3 categories. It is important to note that these categories are used in this course. Okay, so I have issues with this. First off, white magic. He has white, black, and gray. Okay. And we're going to keep to his phrasings here for this course. My definitions, or my way of communicating this would be different. Instead of white magic, positive magic. Um, or uh, I just think positive and negative, or um, you know, yeah, that's basically how I think of things. I don't think of things as, wholly neutral, or, you know, I think very rarely you have something that is entirely neutral type of magic. It's usually either positive or negative type of effects. So his definition for white magic, um, he says, we will use the expression used by the Golden Dawn, which gives us the following definition of white magic. White magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will, using means not currently understood by traditional Western science for the purpose of attaining the knowledge and conversation of our holy guardian angel. Oh my gosh, that is a long ass term. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have no problems with the definition. I have more problems with what it's labeled as with white and black magic. And a lot of that has to do with racism, and how it's more often seen as these dichotomies of, black equals bad and white equals good type of stances. I have issue with that. And I know I speak from a place of privilege where I can say that as a white male. But I do have issue with this, that we are still using these terms. And again, that's one reason I wanted to point out that this was published in 2010 and he died in 2014. So maybe we can cut him a little bit of slack. Um, but yeah, I don't like these terms, or the I don't like uh I don't like the terms. I like the definitions, not the terms. Let's make that clear. He has here for black magic is an easy definition. Black magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will, using means not currently understood by traditional Western science for the purpose of causing their physical or non-physical harm to for causing either physical or non-physical harm to yourself or others, and is done either consciously or unconsciously. Um, I don't like this definition. Um, because for me, it would be the causing of physical or non-physical harm to yourself or others. I don't think I would put in there unconsciously. Because if you are unconsciously doing something, are you doing negative type of magic? Or in this case, as he deems it, black magic. Are you really doing the magic? Or are you creating a vacuum? And I'll get into that here in a minute. Um, my little void theory. But then he has gray magic, which I don't like the term gray magic. It just seems really kind of blah. But gray magic, for the purpose of this book, is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will, using means not currently understood by traditional Western science for the purpose of causing either physical or non-physical good to yourself or others, and is done either consciously or unconsciously. Okay. So here, this is what I would consider positive magic, but it's not white magic because you're not communicating with your holy guardian angel or in conversation with your holy guardian angel. He goes into that, but yeah, yeah, I don't really see the need for the holy guardian angel to be part of the definition of magic and whatnot. So I don't know. I'm a little conflicted, and I'd like to get y'all's opinions in the comments on what you think of this white, black, gray type of magic. I'm really torn with it, and I know as a person from privilege, um, having having issue with it is, you know, is one thing, in and of itself. But it's another thing if you are a person of color and you have issue with it. So I know that I'm kind of wrapping myself around the axle here, and I'm just going to start moving on here because I'm starting to just ramble. But I would like to get y'all's opinion on this. You know, what are we thinking of the black, white, or the white, black, gray magic definitions, or the white, black, gray uh, terms for magic? I'm not a fan. I think we can and we should do better. Um, Obviously, Donald Michael Craig is no longer with us, so he cannot be changing this stuff. But yeah, I think we can do better. I think we can build on the things that we have here, and we can make it better. But in the meantime, let's move on. On page 17 here, those doing black magic always have a price to pay, and sometimes the price is heavier than expected. And I want to skip to another spot here and then talk about this. Just as there is a law of gravity, so too is there an inviolable law. I think I totally butchered that. Law of what is called the East Karma, called in the East Karma, and by Kabbalist Tikkun. Tikkun. He actually has it like spelled out here, phonetically, which is appreciated. Thank you, Tikkun. But put out good, and you will receive good. Put out evil, even unintentionally, and evil is what you will get. Such is the law. Okay, so I want to sit here and talk about this for a second, because yes, we've talked about karma before, and you get what you put out, you reap what you sow, all that stuff. But whenever reading this, I kind of you know started thinking about this a little bit, and I said, you know what if there is this void that is created whenever you put out negative energy? Let's say I I put out this negative energy into the world. Okay. I have now a void, a negative energy void that I am now unbalanced because, positive, negative, all that stuff. You have to have a little bit of both, to balance everything out. It can't always just be all positive. If I put out that negativity that is in my sphere, now I have a void of negativity. Is that then any negativity that comes to me, is that filling that negativity void in order to balance me, or is it negativity because I put out negativity? And I would like to explore this further and have a conversation on this, because I kind of like this definition. If we are balanced with positive and negative energy, and we are just balanced entirely of with positive and negative, if we put out negative and we make that void, that void needs to be filled by some negative energy. So whenever we are hit with negative energy, that's actually it filling up that void, and we perceive it as us getting our comeuppance, which we are. But when we put out that positive energy too, likewise, we have something good happen to us to fill that positive energy void. And, in order to rebalance us, and we perceive it as, something good happening because something good left. Is this a thing that I am just now realizing? Has this always been a thing? And, or is this just a new way of describing an ancient theory of karma? Me not being one that is Buddhist or in Eastern philosophies, I'm not really well educated in Eastern philosophy, so I may not uh, be entirely right on the mark on this, and you know, I want to put that out there that I do not see myself as a figurehead for any Eastern philosophy. I am only a figurehead for uh, my own brand of Christo-Paganism, so I can only speak for myself. But, is this a thing that, I'm just now realizing, is this a thing that is actually really old and ancient, and I'm just finding a different way to explain something so ancient? So, let me know in the comments below. Where'd you go, Jelly? I think she's behind me. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's move on. We are on page 19. And one thing I want to say about this is one thing that I don't like about this book, is yes, you have a nice little flow and everything, but then he has these big, huge boxes like this that just like pop up out of nowhere, and it kind of messes up the flow of reading. I just want to put that out there. I don't know if it's bothering other people, but it certainly bothers me whenever I read something like that. Little tiny boxes off to the side don't bother me, but whenever it is a big, huge box that takes up the entire page, and I have to either go back and read it, or I have to stop reading in order to read it, that messes me up. So I don't appreciate that. Anyway, I'll get past that. I have under the true meanings of tarot. This is on page 19. The truth is, there are no true meanings for the tarot cards. Different tarot readers and authors give different meanings for the cards based on the symbolism of the cards and their backgrounds and training. Okay, yes, if y'all have been watching for a while, I do Tarot Talk Tuesday. Last year we did it every week, up until October, or up until and including October, right? I did October, right? Pretty sure. Anyway, doesn't matter right now. We're in 2022. But we go through a tarot card on those Tuesdays. Now in 2022, it's every other week. So, yeah, you'll get those every other week, and you'll see them then. And the definitions that I get are ones that are kind of out there in general, and we either look at the cards and we find something that will spark us to remember, this definition. Maybe, sometimes I throw in, this is what it's meant to me in a reading in the past. This is what I get from this card. I totally disagree with this meaning or that meaning, that type of thing. And I think this is really important to note whenever it comes, especially to tarot, a system that is so widely written on that, Benabel Wynn, which I love Benabel Wynn. Benabel, love you. In the most friendly way, of course, not to be creepy, but Benabel Wynn has written, not including the index, an 850 page, or nope, 845 page with the, right? Oh, nope, those are the notes. Hold on, let's go to the actual content. Oh, those are the appendices and everything. Okay, we're just going to go to the last page. Over 800 page book. 874 is the last page in this book. 874 pages for this book. You can write a lot on tarot cards. Um, so yeah, you can have several definitions for one card. There is no hard and fast rule. This is what the Ace of Pentacles will always mean forever and eternity. No, you're going to have a love spread that you do, or a question on love that you do, that you have the Ace of Pentacles come up and you're like, well, that's not new money coming in. That may be somebody that you meet at a new job, or, a new project that you're taking on, that is a financial endeavor that, you meet them there. It could be a place, it could be a person with money that's coming in that you end up falling in love with. It could be several different things. If the definition was money's coming in with the Ace of Pentacles, then yeah, it wouldn't serve any purpose in a love reading. So, I mean, just as a, offhanded example there needs to be a definition for you and yourself. And I would also like to say that even if you read the Little White Book, the guidebook, even if you read that and you enjoy it and you see what the artist, the author, the creator of the deck was meaning behind creating that book or that deck, your definition for it may be different, and that's okay. Um, I think it's more important whenever you've been working with the deck to have your own meanings and your own deciphering of what that card means to you than just going by the book. Okay, let's move on. And I want to move on to page 23. I don't want to spend too much time on the tarot section of this because, again, we have Tarot Talk Tuesday. I don't want to spend time on the myths of tarot. I think it is important. I think it is interesting, but I don't think it's necessarily something that is needed. Excuse me, I have a Twitter notification. Somebody's following me. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, let's fill up this cup again. See, what a magician I am. Anyway, let's move on. Page 23, the importance of myth. I do want to go through this because I think this was interesting and he has a lot of things to say, but I only want to pick out 2 different paragraphs here, read those, and we'll be on our way. So here goes. However, I actually think it is more important to have the myths than to have only the historical accurate facts. I'm not denying that we should research and have accurate history, but once you know a date, so what? The Declaration of Independence was signed on July 4th, 1776. Let me stop right there. No, it was actually signed on between July 2nd and July 6th or something like that. It's something weird. It wasn't necessarily signed on 4th of July. That's whenever our Independence Day is observed. So I just want to make that, as a historian type of person, yeah, I want to make that abundantly clear. Let's continue. You know a date, or you now know a date. So what? Far more important than simply knowing a date is knowing the meaning of what occurred on that day, what that date represents. Let's skip on down. Myths aren't just stories. They are stories that promote values that people choose to follow. We learn lessons through the actions of the people in the myths rather than from listening to lectures from parents or parental figures. Myths of bravery, integrity, honesty, and justice fill our early lives and world history. The ancient myths of Ulysses and Beowulf have been replaced by modern myths of Captain James T. Kirk and Luke Skywalker. Okay, The reason that I wanted to hit on the myth part is because uh, whenever we are doing a Bible study, I treat biblical texts as a mythos. You know, it's one thing to say, yeah, you know what, we all came out of primordial ooze and, evolution and all this other stuff. And for years I fought it and I really, like, dug in my heels with it. And now it's just like, you know what? I can't deny the fact that, yes, we've evolved and we are who we are today. And regardless of how we got there, we are here. I think it is important that, we know the facts, yet we also look back to the Genesis story or any creation myths. I love creation myths and finding out how different cultures think that we got where we are today. I think that's important. And I think that needs to be honored in a way. And not as um not as like a gee whiz, but as as an important part of who we are in our culture, and not even necessarily culture, because culture can, lead to racism and whatnot if you're not careful. But how do I want to say it? The essence of our community, whether it's Christian or Jewish or pagan or any plethora of any religion, yeah, we we have these myths that sort of tie us together, that keep us bound to one another in some way, shape, or form, whether, bound for eternity or, just bound for that one myth and, you know, seeing how it makes each other feel. We are tied to one another like that, and I think that's important. And like he says here, we we learn from these things. Bravery, integrity, honesty, justice, stuff like that. We learn important life lessons from these mythos, and the same thing can be said about the tarot mythos. Where did it come from? You know what? We may never know. The stories of initiates going through a temple and, seeing them on the walls and on the pillars and all that, that's a fun story. It really is. It being handed down by Toth, that is a wonderful story. Coming from, China or from the Middle East or something like that into Italy and, artist guilds and all that. Wonderful stories. May be true, may not be true. Chances are probably not. Who knows where it came from. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because these are stories that we rally around, whether it's true or not. We rally around them and we're like, at very least, it's fun to speculate and to tell these stories and to have this common bond that keeps us together. And in that same time, we learn about history around the world or in certain pockets of the world and whatnot. We learn about the history of those areas. We learn about the people that inhabited it. We learn about the culture of that time. And I think that's important. So, we are not only tying ourselves to one another, we're tying ourselves to one another and the cultures of the past. So anyway, we're getting short on time here, and we still got a lot of ways to go here. Like I said, this is going to be a long one. These might be longer videos, so just bear with me on this. Under fortune telling and divination on page 24, it is important to understand the difference between fortune telling and divination. Fortune telling says something must happen. Divination, such as tarot cards, never says what must happen. It only indicates what will happen if you continue on the path you are currently traversing. And I find this is true. I have given readings, and I am, you know, always honest with people, especially with readings. I am bluntly honest with people whenever I give readings. And I've said to people, this, I see this as of right now. And just so you can change this. Anything in this reading, you can change. Nothing is set in stone. This is only where you're sitting at right now. If you keep on going the way you are, this is a likely outcome. And I tell people that. I said, if you don't want this outcome, what I would suggest, because I do a little counseling type of session there too, is you don't do this. You do this instead. You pay attention to this. Don't let this person get the better of you. This type of thing. And I will talk with them about that. Moving on to page 26, we have a tarot spread. And this is the split hexagram spread. I do like this spread, and this is particularly for finding out if a ritual that you're about to perform, or a practice that you're about to embark on, is going to be fruitful for you, and is your higher self in alignment with with the lower self, your bodily form, and where they meet, is it going to be beneficial in the end, or will there be a fly in the ointment? The one thing that I don't like about this spread is that it's a majors only spread. I hate doing majors only. I like to utilize the entire deck, or the capability to have any card come out. But I would try this and see how it goes. I've not done this spread before, and I usually don't do tarot spreads or divination before doing a working of any sort. Just not my thing. I usually give it enough thought, and I ruminate on it enough that I basically know, hey, these are the possible outcomes. I'm willing to take a shot in the dark and try this. Okay, let's move on to page 30. I want to go back for a second. I should probably start doing this, and I probably will. I just haven't in the past. So a lot of these things I am, reading through this for the first time. I've read some of this stuff before. Like I've said in the past, I utilize a lot of my books as encyclopedia type of references. So, yeah. But in this case, I will be doing the exercises as they are put out. So now we're on page 30. At the bottom of page 30, when you perform the ritual, you must understand that you are no longer in your house or apartment or building, nor are you merely outdoors. Rather, you are in the temple of the gods. You are also in the presence of divinity. Wherever you are, when you do this ritual, the area becomes a holy place. You should treat it as such. And this is something I wanted to touch on, because we are setting up the church here in said witchy room. Recording a service, and doing all the motions and everything, setting up the boundaries, so we are all outside of this time, or outside of this time and place of witchy room, New Jersey, and we are in the presence of deity. So I wanted to touch on that, because this is probably the best way that I've heard it explained, or the best, most articulate way of being explained, that I really enjoyed this. So I wanted to touch on that. I think that's important to note, and yeah, I really like the way it was said. Um, Whenever we are doing the church services, or whenever we are in ritual, we are outside of where we physically may be. We are in the presence of deity and treat this ground as holy. Moving on, same page. I have found that candles are much better than electric light for ritual work, skipping around a little bit. However, those flickering battery powered lights are much safer in in that you won't be spilling candle wax or starting an undesired fire. I wanted to touch on this because I am a big proponent of fire safety. Um, as I've mentioned before, my truck caught on fire, and yeah, I'm still healing up over here. I I have a little scrape still, or a little burn right there still, but yeah, still recovering from fire. So yeah, big proponent of fire safety, and I'm fairly safe with fire. Um, Granted, I have left candles burning throughout the night. Not a good idea. Would not suggest. Um, I try not to do it. Um, but yes, I have been in those situations where candles have burned, and um, I'm lucky that I've not had any instances where the house is burned down or anything. And I want to be conscious of where I put candles. And I even mentioned whenever setting up the altar for the services, the church services, that I won't have candles in all the directions because I have a shelf over it, and I'm not going to have that shelf catch fire. I mean, little tea lights probably wouldn't do much. Still, really don't want to even take the chance. So, yeah, I would suggest that if you are anxious about fire and you do not want to worry about fire safety, get one of those little candle, electric candles. I would suggest that I have some party light ones that you can set timers on and all that, and they look very nice. I know some people like luminaries. To me, they look a little fake, but whatever. You do you, boo. But I like the party light ones. I'm just partial to those. Um, you can get the little ones that have a remote to it. I used those whenever I was in Korea. I had those in all the directional areas, and if I wanted to do ritual, I just hit the on button and boom, all of them came on. So it was really nice having those. And they're not really that expensive. You can find them very cheap. They're like little votive size candles, and the battery lasts a long time. So I wanted to touch on that for that reason. Okay, he has here on page 31 about making an altar, and I just want to touch on this. You can use so many different things for an altar. I have a dining room hutch as an altar. Will this be my be all end all altar? Probably not. Um, I do find it kind of problematic having the shelves above, but it works. Uh, if you would like, you can use a side table. You can use, I have a sofa table over here that I've used in the past. I've used this table here in the past. I've used uh, in the directions. I've used folding TV trays. I've used those. I've used little plastic tables and whatnot that just fold up and can get put away in the corner if you need one of those. I've used all of those things before, and it all works great. You can use a regular desk if you want. Um, he does give some suggestions in here if you would like to build an altar, and keep in mind that this is an altar that is for more geared towards ceremonial work, but you can do an altar in any way that you want, and I would suggest branching out, looking at different altar setups and different altar styles, and seeing what works for you. Because my type of altar setup might not be what works well for you. Um, I am very much a person of, on the actual altar surface. Sorry for bumping the mic. Um, on the actual altar surface needs to be a little bit clear, but above it, on the shelves above, since I have that hutch, can be cluttered with all kinds of things, all kinds of witchy things. In the drawers, there's all witchy things. In the cabinets, there's all witchy things. Yeah, it can be quite loaded with the witchy stuff everywhere. But for me, on the actual altar top, the actual altar itself needs to be a little bit cleared. Minimal items, the working tools, of course, the candles, the representations, um, deity figures, stuff like that, and any other materials that I need for a working at that moment. Everything else kind of needs to go away. And for some people, they like to have a big cluttered altar. They like to have everything on there all over the place. And, that's fine for them. For me, not so much. But, again, look at different styles, look at different ways to do your altar setup, and see what works best for you, what you enjoy even just looking at more. Okay. So let's move on to page 32. And we're going to be talking about tools. I think I'm going to jump around here a little bit. There are 4 traditional tools or weapons used by ceremonial magicians. Details of their construction will be given in later lessons. These tools are the wand, the cup, the dagger, and the pentacle. You could use a paper cup to represent elemental water, salt instead of a pentacle to represent the elemental earth, a match instead of a wand to represent the elemental fire. I've already discussed before my problem with wand and fire. To me, wand has always been air, and the blade has always been fire. But, yeah, for this situation, we're going to get past that. And that's all I'm going to say on that matter. And a feather or fan instead of a dagger to represent elemental air. Have a symbol for each of the elements on the altar, or have none of them. You should not have an imbalance in energies, in the energies the tools represent. Before I jump on, I want to say I don't know if I completely agree with this. Having a representation, even if it's just a drawn picture, I think would be sufficient. Or having some sort of representation, how menial, such as the salt for a pentacle, if you're still looking for your pentacle. I think that I'm kind of in agreement with him here of either have all of them or none of them, but I'm also in disagreement of you shouldn't have to go out and get all this stuff in order to do a ritual, but you can also do a ritual with none of them. So, I mean, I'm a little torn. I am definitely one of those, do not go out and buy everything all at once, because you will spend a crap ton of money buying things that you might not ever use, or you might use once and find out, this isn't really my thing. This one little deal here, not really my I'm not really connected to it. So yeah, I just blew $30 on this, and now I'm never going to use it again. That type of thing. I don't want there to be disappointment because you bought something thinking that you needed it, and then you didn't, and then you didn't use it. and now you are out the money for it. And some of the tools out there are freaking expensive. So, yeah, I am in the camp of make sure that you need the item or that you are truly in want of that item before you go out and get it. Moving on. If you have the tools, they should be wrapped in a piece of silk or cotton when they are not being used. The wand in red, the chalice in blue, the dagger in yellow, and the pentacle in black. And I kind of disagree with that. Because that is like saying that your tarot deck needs to be in a black silk bag, you know, and whatnot, where, this is a red knitted tarot bag that I did, and it works perfectly fine, keeps them just as safe. And no, I don't necessarily need a uh, a big old citrine sitting on them to cleanse them and all that. Which, if you have seen my Witchy Wednesday, yes, you can use that for cleansing your deck. There you go. It's just gonna sit there and cleanse my deck now. There we go. Bonus tip for those who stayed by. Anyway, yeah, I slightly disagree with this. I think some of this stuff has gone away with the old guard of, you have to do this way or else it's, not truly, correct. I disagree with some of that. There are some things that, yes, you should definitely do things this way or that way, and there are certainly reasons behind it, but I don't think that it needs to be a silk cloth or a cotton cloth of certain colors for these certain tools. Look, I'm looking over at my altar right now, and for one, my athame isn't covered. My wand is my wand is actually not even on my altar. It's over on one of the shelves. My wand is over there. My bells are not covered. My chalice is not covered. Yeah, I don't have anything covered. Like, ever. No. I don't even think I have... Hold on. Where's my witch's mirror? You know what? I don't even know where my witch's mirror went off to. It's around here somewhere. But I don't think I even have that thing covered. So, yeah, I'm not a big one for covering up the things that I put there in certain areas to do certain jobs. Hi, Jelly. I'm not one for covering them whenever they're not being used. Let them just sit there and be in the space that they're in. It's fine. It's okay. It's not going to hurt them. The only thing that you should cover is a crystal that is, in direct light. Because quartz crystals will burn your house down if the light catches them the right way. Practice crystal safety. Moving on. You may wish to use a bell. This can be used for marking the beginning and end of the ritual, as well as marking off various sections of more complex ceremonies. How big should it be? Like that question. What should its shape be? Love that question. Yeah, I'm being a child now. That's up to you. Yeah, and I do like a good bell, and I think a bell is a good way to intone, hey, we're starting this work. Hey, we're moving on to doing this. We're doing that. I think that is an important tool that should and can and should be used. Moving on. Another item to have is the proper clothes. Okay. The subject of clothes. Ritual clothing, I am a little for it and I'm a little against it. There should be no reason that you have to go out and spend uber bucks on creating your own robe or buying a new robe or creating this, because maybe you're not into sewing, but, yeah, I don't have the money to buy robes because they're freakishly expensive, and, money's tight, and people, have to eat rather than buying ritual clothing. And so, yeah, it's okay to not have ritual clothes. That's fine. But I also see the benefit in having ritual clothing because it is a change in the way that you are thinking. Whenever you are putting on certain things, you are taking on that mantle. So, whenever I put on my clericals, I am no longer rich. I am Reverend Rich. So, I almost said my last name. And I don't give out my last name on YouTube. Sorry. Those of y'all who know it, just don't dox me. But yeah, there's enough crazy people on YouTube. I don't need, to be having people dox me and whatnot. So anyway, but yeah, I am one that is for and against the ritual clothing thing. And it can be as simple as having ritual clothes like a t-shirt and jeans. I think Scott Cunningham has said that in his writings, that it can be as simple as a good pair of jeans and a t-shirt. And there you have ritual clothing. And I can stand behind that. I can get with that. But I don't think it needs to necessarily be a robe and, one that is intricately done or, of a certain color. I used to do my rituals in a white, like, tunic. And that worked just fine. I have done rituals skyclad, and that worked just fine. And I've done rituals in regular everyday attire. That works just fine. It's more in if you cannot differentiate that you are going between the mundane and the magical. If you are somebody that has issues or problems getting to that state of mind, the clothing thing might help you. And you might not even need clothing necessarily. You might instead just need something like a little circlet or a crown of some sort. Something where you are wearing it. For instance, whenever, as a Mason, whenever somebody is a worshipful master, they have a hat. And it's, a nice little like fedora type hat. And they put that on, and they are embodying the worshipful master title at that point. They are acting in the capacity as worshipful master. Now, that also goes hand in hand with the jewels that we wear and whatnot, and the aprons and all that stuff. But once he puts that hat on, it's go time. That is, ritual starting. The lodge is underway. So it could be something as simple as that, or even jewelry of some sort. Find a piece of jewelry that you wear only whenever you're in ritual, if that's something that you need to do. It can be something simple. It can be something a little bit more complex, such as an entire outfit. Let's move on here, because I think we spent enough time on that. Also on page 32, we're talking about the robe here. I want to make something very clear to you. You must not wait until you have all your tools to start on the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. So yeah, we kind of touched on the robe before, but yeah, we're talking about the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. Okay, moving on. He has a very nice depiction of somebody doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And I have done this in the past, and he says, you know what? You should be doing this. Uh, how much did he say? I think he said, do this for a month straight. Here it is. I found it. I had to stop and actually look at it because I know I saw it before. It is actually on the following page, page 36, which is our last page here. I suggest you study the material of each lesson for at least 1 month before going on to the next lesson. We, of course, are not going to be doing that, such as we did with the inner and outer temple of witchcraft. We will not be doing that with this one. I would suggest going through and answering the questions. Yeah, there are 15 questions that, is a review. And then 11 questions that only you can answer. So, yeah, I think these are... I think these are good questions overall. The review questions, not as much. I'm not really interested as much in those ones, but I like it whenever they have questions that only you can answer. This course presents the idea that God is neither male nor female. What do you think about that? These types of answers I have put in the Book of Shadows. I have, and I've talked about this before, a beliefs page where I outline my beliefs, and I go back and I update it every so often. What are the most important dreams you've ever had, or what's the most important dream you've ever had? Are you doing the relaxation ritual daily? I mean, some of them are a little bit more flaky of questions that don't really get into the nitty gritty of who we are. Are you working with tarot? Have you done any tarot divinations? Okay. What is your most accurate result so far? And that's something that I would like to also do, is keep a tarot journal, because I don't always remember my readings. And that's one of the goals I put forth for myself for this year, is to do a daily reading. If it's just pulling one card and writing it down, I got myself a planner, which I usually don't anymore like to get, store-bought planners. I like to do my own planner pages, but I didn't have time to actually print them, cut them, punch all the holes, all that stuff. Did not have time for it. So I went out and I got a planner and just said, you know what? I'm going to have to start doing stuff. So, and in here, let's just go to Friday, September 2nd. And it's all washed out there. There we go. Up here, it has top goals. So goals that you want to do for the day. It has in here your 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then it has down here a notes section. Now, what I would like to do is, do a daily card pull, and then down here in the notes, write, a couple sentences, nothing super in depth about, a reading, because, I mean, you might only have one card. You might do a 3-card draw or something of that nature. But, having something like that on a daily basis would be a good record to have. And I know some people keep their planners, their agendas and their planners. They keep them for years. I don't necessarily do that, but, I've kept stuff like that for, the following year and whatnot. But I would suggest to start doing that. I'm going to try to start doing that, but we're going to see whenever I actually start doing that. It's already, what, January 13th whenever I'm recording this, and I haven't done it yet. I need to start getting on the ball. Come on, Rich. Let's go. Next thing here. Which tarot deck are you using with these lessons? I'm actually going to use Yeah, a new deck that I need to reveal. Yeah, because I want to work with that deck a little bit more. Okay, so yeah, I got a deck to review and reveal. So, why do you want to? Why do you want to study magic? This is one for the Book of Shadows, and I would suggest everybody doing this. Um, you don't have to share it or anything like that, but at least poke those questions and evaluate those questions for what they are, and if why you're doing what you're doing is really in your best interest or is really for the right reasons. Um, what is your favorite myth? And why has it impacted you so strongly? Another one for a Book of Shadows. Keeping a record of your favorite mythos and putting it in a Book of Shadows, writing it out, and putting your heart and soul, your essence, your writing power into that creation, especially if you're handwriting the Book of Shadows entry and whatnot. That is huge. Um, yeah, and that's something else that I need to do is clear off this desk because I need to start doing some Book of Shadow pages and putting those on Patreon. Whenever I start doing those, I'll be announcing that, so it will be a Patreon exclusive, at least for the time being. Um, let's see. Question 11 on here. Have you ever tried to do magic, but it didn't work? Why do you think it failed? Another reason to keep a ritual journal, a ritual diary, is if something doesn't work, why did it not work? Is it something that wasn't supposed to work or shouldn't have worked? Or is there something that you did wrong? Or you didn't have enough oomph in it? Was it done during the wrong cycle of the moon or something? You know, it can be a dozen different things, and we could all have different answers, and it could be that you didn't want it to work deep down. So anyway, that is all that I have for today. I rambled on quite long enough. That has been Modern Magic, chapter or lesson 1. We are on lessons, not chapters. Lesson 1, parts 1, 2, and 3. I forgot to mention that there were 3 parts in this first chapter, right? I think there were 3. I think pretty sure it was three parts. Yep, 3 parts. So 1 lesson, 3 parts. Yeah, and that has been Modern Magic Lesson 1, parts 1, 2, and 3 by Donald Michael Craig. If you would like to get your own copy, go down into the bottom bar, into the nether regions, and click on the Amazon link. That is an Amazon link. I do suggest getting your copy from an independent store, such as your local metaphysical shop, if you have that accessible to you, and if it is safe for you to do so. I do believe you can get this as a Kindle version as well. And yeah, I think that's all I have. Pretty sure. And if you don't get the book, then, well, you can still stop on by and you can listen to the rants and whatnot. Always much appreciated. If you have enjoyed this video, go down into the bottom bar right here. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you have, especially if you made it this far and you are not yet subscribed and you have enjoyed this content. If you have enjoyed this content, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you don't miss whenever a new video comes out, because YouTube just be doing YouTube stuff. Yeah, share with your friends if that is something that is safe for you to do. And until next time, a very exhausted Rich from talking for an hour and like 36 minutes straight through. I wish you love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.